Every day, unbelievable things happen, and every now and again, the Earth is graced with superhumans who are born with strange and extraordinary capabilities. More often than not, these people are overwhelmed with skepticism and the need for them to prove themselves. So today, here at Unexplained Mysteries, we'll be taking a look at 3 particularly incredible people. Natasha Demkina X-ray visions. The invention of X-ray technology was a complete scientific accident. When Wilhelm Roentgen, a German physicist, experimented with electron beams in a gas discharge tube, he didn't know that it was going to be a big deal. He was surprised to find out that this unintentional breakthrough could be a revolutionary tool that would change the landscape of diagnostics and the entire field of medicine. However, Natasha Demkina is a walking, talking and breathing X-ray machine. Natasha Demkina is a Russian woman who was born in Mordovia in 1987. Her X-ray vision started manifesting itself when she was about 10 years old. She claims to see through the bodies of human beings and analyze what's wrong with them. Unlike the invention of X-ray, Natasha isn't an accident, but she and her parents were likewise surprised to find out that she has extraordinary capabilities that transcend science. Her mother, Tatiana Vladimirovna, was the first person whom she had an X-ray vision for. When Natasha was asked about this encounter, she described it as following. "I was at home with my mother, and suddenly I had a vision. I could see inside my mother's body, and I started telling her about the organs I could see. Now I have to switch from my regular vision to what I call medical vision. For a fraction of a second, I see a colourful picture inside the person, and then I start to analyse it." According to her mother, Natasha was a fast learner, but other than that, she was a regular child who enjoyed playing with her friends, spending time with her family, and going to school. After she was able to accurately describe her mother's internal organs to her, Natasha's story spread like wildfire within their community. People would line up outside their house for medical consultations. Soon enough, Natasha's superpower got featured in a local newspaper in 2003. She was 16 years old at the time. Little did she know it was going to be the start of a life of fame and criticism. More and more news outlets picked up on her story. She was invited to conduct demonstrations for a local tabloid newspaper in London, and more invitations followed after that. She reached as far as New York and Tokyo. If you're hearing Natasha's story on the news, the first thing that will cross your mind is the question of whether or not it's true. Could somebody actually have the ability to see through a human body and analyse the health of internal organs, tissues, bones, and everything else? People were understandably skeptical. It sounded like folklore. However, those who have had the chance to get a consultation with Natasha have been very vocal about the accuracy of their finding. It got to a point where doctors and researchers simply couldn't ignore her story. Despite many people's skepticism, Natasha was given the chance to prove herself to the world in multiple studies and occasions. In Russia, a doctor in a children's hospital asked her to look inside his stomach and draw on a piece of paper what she saw. The doctor was surprised by the accuracy of her drawing, marking the spot where he had an ulcer. In the United Kingdom, a Discovery Channel documentary reported Natasha being able to successfully identify all the factors and metal pins in a woman who had recently been in a car accident. Natasha conducted more demonstrations on and off cam in New York and Japan. There have been criticisms with the diagnoses of Natasha, saying that all her findings are very far from actual medical conditions of the patients. A certain scientist even commented that people believe in Natasha the same way they believe in fortune tellers. They only hear what they want to. However, the Nobel Prize-winning physicist Brian Josephson came to her defense. Whether or not you believe in Natasha's story has nothing to do with how undeniable the evidence is. If you can look past the accuracy and just dwell on the idea that a human being could see through another human being is beyond awesome. Shanti Devi. Do you believe in reincarnation? Most people in America don't believe the whole idea of an individual having a past life. However, in the East, specifically in India, this is not only their belief, but the truth that they hold as very sacred. Shanti Devi, born in 1926, was an Indian woman who claimed to remember her past life. When she was 4 years old, she told her parents that her real home was in Mathura, where she had a husband and a son. Just like what most parents would do, Shanti's father and mother told her to stop saying these things. Frustrated and persistent, the young girl ran away from home trying to reach Mathura. She was eventually found and reunited with her parents. In school, she would tell anyone that would listen that she was married and had died 10 days after she gave birth to her son. She even mentioned the name of her husband, Kedarnath. She also spoke a local dialect in Mathura. This caught the interest of her teachers and the headmaster. Wanting to know whether there was some kind of truth to Shanti's story, the headmaster pulled some strings to locate a man named Kedarnath in Mathura. It's as if all heavens conspired to make the story of Shanti verifiable. Who would have known that the 4-year-old girl from a small town in India could shake the world with her story? Who would have known that a child as young as her could have such an extraordinary capability not only of remembering her past life, but having the courage to tell the world about it? To the headmaster's surprise, he did find a man named Kedarnath in Mathura. He had a wife named Lugdi Devi, who died 10 days after his son was born. As it turns out, Shanti lived as Lugdi. Everyone was surprised except for Shanti. She knew very well that she was telling the truth, and she was beyond relieved that finally someone else could corroborate her story. At last people knew she wasn't crazy. After her story claims were verified by real people, such as her husband in her past life, Shanti's reincarnation became the talk of the town. She quickly got a lot of attention and became famous for being the girl who reincarnated and remembered her past life. It wasn't long before her fame reached Mahatma Gandhi himself. He created a special commission to investigate the accounts of Shanti Devi. Her and her family, accompanied by the officers of the commission, went to Mathura to further verify the details of her story. The commission concluded in 1936, saying she was in fact the reincarnation of Lugdi Devi. She lived a long and colourful life, and she never got married once more, but she devoted her life to telling her story repeatedly until the late 1980s. The belief in reincarnation isn't for everyone. However, with her story being out there for the world to know, it's hard to turn a blind eye and ignore this idea. A believer or not, it's indeed wonderful to know that such strangeness and magic could actually exist in the real world. Shamanistic practices. The sound of the word alone is enough to pique a person's interest. Shamanistic, shamanism, shaman, it exudes power and mysticism. But what is it really about? It's a religious practice where a shaman goes into an altered state of consciousness, such as a trance, with the main purpose of healing. It originated from the jungles of South and North America. Over time, it reached as far as the mountainous regions of Mongolia, where it prospered. Thousands of years have passed, and shamanistic practices are still very much alive. It's evolved into a 21st century culture without compromising the legitimacy of its customs and principles. Considering the millions, if not billions, of people who are at the edge of death, suffering from physical and mental illnesses, the benefits of shamanism are highly in demand. Other religions, such as Buddhism and Christianity, trace the origins of some of their practices from shamanistic roots. This proves that the ideology is highly in demand these days. When shamans go into altered states of consciousness, they meditate in full concentration. It's like they leave the physical world and go into the mystic spiritual world where they can get to practice actual shamanism. They serve as a bridge between humans and the spirits in high realms. Thinking about the state of the world right now, where there's so much desperation and violence, shamanistic practices stand out. It proves how such an old, calm and diplomatic religious practice can become a kind of superpower in helping sick people get better. There will always be critics and skeptics, but once in a while it's important to pay attention to the magic of it all. Shamanistic practices aren't magic, but it sure is close to it. So what do you make of these incredible people and their amazing abilities? Be sure to let us know your thoughts in the comment section below and help us by growing this community whilst working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.